Friday night. It's Friday night. Oh, your boy just bought a big old commercial stainless steel restaurant sink. So that's the highlight of my day today. It's pretty cool. Anyways, first things first, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification button. Sometimes, like today, I'll schedule it out. Other times I don't. Let's see. TheSoftSpokenShaman@gmail.com is the place to reach out to me if you'd like to read my books. Also, it's a place to reach out if you'd like to join my Discord server. I'm getting that server popping again. We got a lot of good resources on there, a lot of free books, PDFs, all sorts of resources you could think of for anything you can think of, whether it's esoteric stuff, whether it's you want to build a house, you want to buy land, you want resources on how to start a business, yada, 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 all that good stuff. It is there. Wes Watson, for those of you who know this guy, obviously was rearrested the other day for a fight that happened about 2 weeks ago. Now, he's a convicted felon, of course. And, he's claiming that in this fight, he was practicing self-defense. And so the thing is, he had made a claim on social media. He said, hey, if anybody wants to get in a scuffle, come over to this gym this time in the morning. And somebody called him on it and it showed up. He was a really tall, black dude, and so they got in a fight. And then Wes had ambushed him with 3 other dudes using weapons, right? So it wasn't a fair fight. And so the thing is, what Wes Watson doesn't understand is, dude, it's not self-defense if you put out a PSA on social media that you want to fight with people, right? And then somebody shows up and they want to fight you. That's not self-defense. You basically instigated and asked for it to happen. So the thing is, people are, I guess he's out on bond or something, or that's what people have claimed online. People are wondering, well, it was initially a misdemeanor charge and they leveled it up to a felony, which usually doesn't happen. Usually with a prosecutor, they're going to hit you with the hardest charge and then eventually get you to plea or drop the charges or whatever. So some people are thinking, oh, he's going to get a couple years on paper. What that means is probation. Maybe he'll get 5 years probation. I don't think that's going to happen. I think because he's a convicted felon and he has numerous charges based on violence. And I know in Florida, as most states, they do not play when it comes to domestic violence or general violence. Typically, the justice system will kind of, play with you with kid gloves if it's a white collar or non-violent crime or whatever. But if it's a violent crime, no, they're gonna go full speed at you. So I think he's gonna get prison time. That's personally what I think. Wes Watson, I never heard anybody say this yet. He reminds me of the Bagel Boss. People may not remember the Bagel Boss was some really short guy, like 5 foot tall, maybe a little bit shorter, from Long Island, and he had an epic meltdown at the bagel store where he claimed, oh, everybody always looks down on me and women don't like short guys, blah, 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 blah. He started going off. And the dude crashed out and he got handled. He got manhandled by a normal-sized dude. Just total, I don't know if he's alive or not, the Bagel Boss, but I mean, Wes Watson reminds me of this guy, because Wes Watson would play up like he's a tall guy, like he's over 6 foot. But on his booking information for this recent arrest the other day, it says he's 5'8". And hey, there's no problem with being 5'8". There's many men who are 5'8", there's many men who are shorter, many men who are taller, that's whatever. I believe the average height in the United States is 5'9", although who knows, maybe going down for all we know. But you could tell he's insecure. You could tell he's insecure. He's always on the defensive. He's never just chilling. You could tell this guy is not a guy who's confident in his own skin. He had to become super yoked and on steroids and tren or whatever type of gear he's using. He had to do all this in order to try to be able to simulate feeling secure in his own skin. You could tell that just by listening to the guy talk. He wants to talk like he's a shot caller, he's a gangster, he's a convict or whatever. But as everybody knows, he's lying about his time. He's lying about where he did his time. Apparently, he wanted to say that he was a big shot caller in California prison. And apparently, I guess, people have found his paperwork and he was doing time in Oklahoma. So the guy's just walking contradictions and lies. And, his arc could have been, even with the lies, it could have been inspiring. Oh, this guy goes to prison for 7 years for some, I guess he was a bag man or something, or bag man or an enforcer for some drug dealers or something like that. It could have been, oh, he gets out of prison, he starts his YouTube channel, gets traction, he gets fame, he helps people out, he's got like a motivation channel, but he let the money, the greed, the clout get to him. And, it's a story as old as time, especially if you're an insecure guy. If you're secure, the money and all the accolades are nice, but you're not going to let it get to you so deeply. It's only going to be skin deep, that sort of those sort of physical things. But with him, you could tell he just let it overtake his personality like a tapeworm infiltrating a brain, or some sort of parasite using aggressive mimicry to take over a creature. It's sad. I remember, even I, was recommended some of his videos. Oh, I want to say back in 2020 or 2021, and it's just, hey, it's a yoked ex-convict, who's got a receding hairline. He hadn't shaved his head at that point in time. And I remember back then there were channels starting to get big, like I think his name's Big Herc. He's a black guy who had done time in prison. And he had some, informational videos on his time and, what it was like and what he learned, what he'd gone in for. It seemed to me that around the time of the pandemic started, true crime and like prison stories started kind of taking off also. There's a good channel right now called, I think it's True Crime Matt Cox, COX. And he put a video up earlier today about, the downfall of Wes Watson. I recommend checking it out. Every once in a while on here, I'll share the channels that I listen to. That's one of them. I think it's pretty interesting. But, and he had done almost 13 years in the federal penitentiary, various, minimum security, medium security institutions. And he's saying, he's like, I've done over a decade and, I'm not saying I know everything, but I'm gonna tell you, this guy's effed. This guy's screwed. Unless he's gonna pull the most pure white rabbit out of a hat, he's screwed. There's nothing he can say to get out of the consequences of his actions. And he did the right thing. He hired a tribesman attorney, so to speak. The guy's last name is Goldblatt or something like that. So Wes Watson did the right thing with all that money that he purportedly has. At least get a good attorney to fight the charge, I listened to the arraignment, which also is known as a bond hearing or a preliminary hearing. And, actually the judge was cordial with his attorney, and his attorney seemed like he was, getting through to the judge. So, as long as Wes Watson keeps his mouth shut, I think he'll be able to plead this down, maybe to a misdemeanor if he's lucky. I don't think they're going to drop the charges. I really don't. But hopefully he'll learn something from it, or else he's going to go back. But I mean, right now he's got a felony, and again, you're a convicted felon facing another felony. I mean, doesn't matter if you're not in California. I mean, if you're in a state that doesn't have 3 strikes, it doesn't matter. I mean, you are not setting yourself up for a fun time. His best, if they kept the felony, the best case scenario he get would be getting papered for a couple years, which again means getting probation. I don't think that's going to happen. And the thing is with Wes Watson, with his explosive personality, I don't think he's even going to, he would find a way to mess up probation, in my opinion, or house arrest or whatever. It's also come to light, I don't know if this is true, but I guess he's dating like a famous Instagram escort. And so that, I guess they were saying while he was locked up, the escort was living in his house. They're like, oh, Wes Watson's going to get out and he's going to be like a little bit light in terms of possessions in his house. Like she's going to, take everything he's got or whatever. I don't know if that happened or not, but, that's another thing to worry about. I mean, if you're a guy like Wes Watson, you are a target because you put yourself out there in the most bombastic, braggadocious way possible. You just put yourself out there. And the problem is, you're going to attract the type of people who are going to want to F with you and the most pernicious trolls. I'm surprised, like there's these guys who are targeting athletes, these robbery or burglary crews that target athletes. Like they'll rob, Patrick Mahomes or Travis Kelce or Joe Burrow's house while they're playing their NFL game. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody pulls that on Wes Watson, And of course, Wes Watson is obviously one of these guys who's renting his mansion. He's renting his cars. Yeah, of course. But I wouldn't be surprised. You call attention to yourself like that. and people will try to test you. And he should know that as a person who's been in prison. If you're going to walk around with that type of, you know, swagger that just doesn't sit right with people, where it seems like it's unearned, people are going to test you. People are certainly going to test you. And then there's also people who have claimed to have done time with Watson, who had said that he was very quiet in prison, that he wasn't bombastic, he wasn't getting in fights, he was just quiet. Which actually, you know, people are saying that like that's a bad thing. I would say that actually shows some intelligence points for Wes Watson. If he was doing his time quietly, that's the mark of an intelligent, mature person. Or scaredy cat, for sure. But typically a mature and intelligent person is not going to want to rock the boat, especially when you're in prison. You're probably amongst, you know, low-level felons, you know, if there's such a thing, and you're around killers too. You know, I mean, there's white-collar felons, there's killers, there's, you know, rapists, there's all that stuff, you know, that can fall under that heading. But the thing, and it's black pilling, but the thing is with Wes Watson, you know, 5'8" isn't that short. But when you perceive it to be short, you set yourself up to have a chip on your shoulder. And then you start doing things like Wes Watson, where you're just creating this persona where you're a little big man, you're Napoleon complex incarnate, and you're asking for it. And people do, when they see you doing that little big man syndrome, bigger guys, sometimes they just want to put you down just to chill you out, because you know, it's like you're disturbing the matrix, you know? When you're disturbing the peace, people want to reinstate the peace. And with an explosive guy like Wes Watson, that doesn't sit well with people who just like to have calm and balance and no problems. So it's why, you know, people like Wes Watson, you know, they claim they're not looking for problems, but problems seem to find them everywhere they go. Well, he is looking for problems, clearly. And, you know, I mean, nobody likes seeing anybody get locked up or anything, but hopefully it'll be a wake-up call for him. I mean, the thing is, look, I can understand getting locked up on a charge for the first time, but if you're getting locked up consistently for the same charge, man, I mean, if you got a modicum of intelligence, you got to really think that through. You know, the same charge, the same violent charge over and over again. I mean, you know, they say prison is gladiator school. I mean, once you go once, haven't you graduated, dog? Like, do you need to go back? Are you like the remedial, you know, dunce cap dude who's got to go back over and over again? Like detention, you know, prison as detention. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't get these guys. You know, what is the impulse to show how big and bad you are? You know, it's for these guys, they're so insecure. Like, they got to show how big and bad they are, how much money they purportedly have. Man, any dude who's really dangerous, any dude who really has money is going to keep that shit quiet, because they don't want to create static. They don't want to create that static cling. You know, back in the day, you know, they would call the police, you know, the fuzz, meaning like static cling. They're always there when you don't want it. You put on your favorite Christmas sweater and you feel that sizzle, you know, of the static cling. You don't want that. If you really got it going on, legally, illegally, it doesn't matter. Whether you really got it going on, you don't want to draw attention to yourself. You know, it's only these bombastic dummies who are like, oh, look at my Bugatti. Oh, man, I just got a bag for $159 trillion the other day. Like, don't steal it. You know, anybody who's really got a brain is just going to chill. They're going to act like a normal person. They're not going to be like, oh, hey, guys, I just won the lottery. I've got $38 million and I'm hiding it under my child's mattress. You know, like, no, people don't do that. It's the people who are always talking like that are the people who want you to think they got it, but they really don't. Because the people that really do have it, there will be signs, but they're not going to call attention. Hey, guys, I'm a multimillionaire. Look at all my cash. Look, here's where I store it. Yeah, you know, that doesn't happen. And if it does happen, it's like dummies like the Island Boys or Soulja Boy who are, you know, oh, yeah, look at all my money, guys. Yeah, Wes Watson, a dummy. He's a big dummy. I just, this is the beginning of the saga. And see, if I were Wes Watson, the thing that would piss me off the most is all the people who are monetizing his misery and his crash out. That to me is the funniest thing. It's like, bro, you know, if you just relaxed, you could have just monetized and kept it all to yourself. But now you're lining other people's pockets. Well, you got to go, you know, sit through hearings and in a jumpsuit, you know, I mean, and not a stylish jumpsuit, you know, a cheapo one. It just fogs the mind. It dazzles the mind. Why a person would act that way, you know? And if you've gone to prison, I've never been to prison, so I wouldn't know. But if you've gone to prison, you'd probably understand, like, violence is one way to get to prison. Violence is also something that happens in prison. So ergo, you would think that in order to escape going back to prison, you would eschew violence. You would just shelve it and go, you know what? Maybe, you know, my past as Wes Watson has been violent, but now I'm going to turn a new leaf. Maybe I'll be a hard ass, but I'm going to be a hard ass in a way that's not violent. Great. That's a sign of learning. So in the future, if you get locked up, hopefully it's not some other stuff. But again, to be locked up for the same charge over and over again, it shows that you're not learning. And I mean, what can be said? I don't know. The guy's a very entertaining clown. You know, he's very entertaining. YouTube Krusty the Clown. But that's about it, you know, and there will be a new clown to replace him a couple months from now. But until then, you know, I guess we'll be tracking the story. I think the best videos on Wes Watson are by a guy named John Bravo. I think it's John as in Jon Bravo Films, I think is his channel, John Bravo Films. And he puts on this affectation of this kind of like, you know, New Jersey, you know, Guido accent. It's pretty funny. But I recommend checking his stuff out if you think the Wes Watson thing is funny. The whole thing is endemic of just the fall of the red pill and the fall of the manosphere as it is. It's weak. You know, all this stuff has been talked about. It's a pinata and a horse tied together that's been beaten to death. Nobody wants to hear this stuff anymore. And so the fall of guys like Fresh and Fit and Wes Watson, it's time. It's time. Find another angle.